And so it's just annoying when you constantly have, like stuff like this popping up on the news where they're telling you about a suicidal child, then they tell you sexual assault, the mother freaking injury. I mean, I just seen this other one where it said that a kid, I think it was like under the age of 12 or something, was hit with a stray bullet in his house. And it's crazy that they report like this, because where are the reportings for the violent crimes that take place in outside of metropolitan areas? It become to the point where people literally believe that black people commit majority of the crimes nationwide because of the excessive media coverage that metropolitan areas get, right? And a lot of times people don't even know the name nor the face of the perpetrator. But as soon as they come to the realization that an alleged crime had taken place in a metropolitan area, they automatically attach blackness to it. It's a black man, or it had to be a black woman, or it had to be a black kid. To the point where I comment on these news article things, and then I got people legitimate, I don't know if these people are bots, but majority of them, their demographic makeup, at least they look right. They look white. Most of them be like, from the boondock, like they be from the middle of nowhere, rural America, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing out there but the smell of cow turds and mother freaking corn ears that hasn't been cut down way past season. Like that's all that's out there. And a true value in the Dollar General. That's all that's out there. And these to be the type of people that's sitting here talking about how criminalistic black people are and criminalistic people are that live in the city, overlooking all the stuff that is pertained to them. I remember even coming across research where it showed that you are more likely to have your house broken into. You're more likely to have your vehicle stolen, basically property, type of crimes. These things were more likely to happen outside of the city. Some of the reasoning behind it is because in the city, there's already this idea that people are going to invade your space. They're going to rob you. They're going to mug you. So majority of the people are locking their doors, house doors, their vehicle doors, rolling up their windows. I lived in West Henrietta, Churchville, Chi-Li, in Avon, New York, and East Rochester. And it was very, very common for the people that lived out there to leave their vehicles unsecure, their homes unsecure. These jokers will open up their garage, I guess airing it out or some trash, and then leave and go run errands. And these be the same people surprised when they come back that their stuff was broken into. But then you let these people talk and they're like, oh, robberies are always happening. Crime is always happening. Is black people out there in the middle of nowhere stealing from y'all? And then the crazy part about it is that crime, has always been attached to poverty. So why has crime been wrongly solely attached to black people? Like we the only people in poverty. Not for nothing. There's a lot more black people, in my opinion, living a lot better than a lot of the poor white people. You see what I'm saying? Even the concept white trash, it developed by black people looking at white people and they saying, I understand why I'm in the predicament that I'm in. I'm ostracized based on my color. I'm left out of spaces because of my color. I'm denied, residence in this location because of my color. I'm denied education here because of my color. I'm subjected to this motherfucking community as my residence because of my color. But what's your problem? You're white and you living just as bad as me, if not worse. That's literally where the concept white trash came from. So if crime is associated to poverty, why is it falsely attributed to solely black people? And then the whole point of me even bringing this up is about immigration, is because we continue to see the juxtaposition of crime and the need of increased local law enforcement employment but at the hands of media. And it's evident to me that media has motherfreaking been bought out by these politicians, by the police union. Here is the motherfreaking Locust Club. You know, they've been bought out by corporate America because, like I told this lawyer yesterday at this deposition that I attended, when it comes to you people in power, I view y'all all the same. You're selfishly driven and you don't give a damn about the people because they don't. The police, here it is. You got, the mayor in Rochester is a turd, so F that nigga. But you have people that sitting here saying, you know, there's the talk going around about Rochester Police Department officers being involved in arresting, I guess, deportational immigrants, right? And then you got people ignorantly responding to it saying, well, they're illegally here. It's the police job to enforce the law and blah, 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 blah. And I love to break it to people because I actually done research on immigration as it pertains to the acts of our government and their jurisdiction. And see, aside from me breaking down, you know, what federalism is, it basically states that it's impossible for numerous police officers to take on roles of other police departments without their job being performed terribly. There's no efficacy there. Why? It's like you. If you were to multitask and try to do everything, you won't complete not one task because you're exhorting yourself in every motherfreaking space to where you're not even giving yourself the chance to complete whatever it is that you're doing, you know? And so nothing gets done, or the things that get done haphazardly. And so this idea that the local law enforcement are supposed to help the feds police immigrants, nigga, y'all crazy. It's impossible. The police can't even handle the workload they have on their own that's within their jurisdiction. Why the hell would they add on the workload of someone else's jurisdiction? Have y'all seen the clearance rates here in Rochester? To me, it's mind-blowing that you can see 5, 6, 10, 15 police cars sitting behind each other, lined up, pulling somebody over during a traffic stop. But yet, when it comes to clearance rates, which basically means the percentage of crime that are solved, it's less than 60%. If I score anything 60% or lower on a test, baby, I'm failing. Where's the criticism over this display of failure? And then they're sitting here talking about we need increased police presence. Why? In 1973, a study was done in Kansas City. It's called the Kansas City Preventative Patrol Experiment, where they basically sent out all these they had a control and they had the groups that they were testing, right? And the control was that the police maintain the same patrol beat methods that they normally do, while the other experimental groups, some groups, they were their presence was limited, and then there was another group where their presence was like extra. They was just everywhere, constantly seen. And they did this for quite a while. And by the end of the study, they have found that regardless if police were present, if police were not present, if the police maintained their normal functions, if police presence was increased, they have found that it had no effect on the perception of crime, nor the actual crime itself. So that means that regardless of having more or less police presence or maintaining exactly what they do currently, it did not change how people perceive crime. So the people who still perceived crime as running roughshod here still perceived crime as running roughshod. For the people who perceived crime as not really being a hindrance, still viewed it that way. And then the effects of the crime itself still maintain, because it found that, okay, just because you got police presence in this location doesn't mean that it got rid of or it got rid of crime. In fact, police presence didn't do anything but displace the criminal activity. So instead of the criminal activity being in this location, it just ended up going somewhere else. But yet, media, you got politicians that's like Mercedes Vasquez Simmons and Trump and the raggedy mayor we have here in Rochester, and even nationally, you got these people all over who continue to try to push this concept of social control, right, can help eliminate the crime. And it's like y'all alternate between social control and, I guess, lightening up. Or maybe you don't, and that's just how it's perceived, because nothing is changing. Because like society, we go through these periods of what they consider peace. We go through periods naturally where there's less crime that takes place. And then we naturally go through these areas where crime is a little heightened. The police has no effect on that. At least not anything that has been measurable through research. Politicians and their legislation have had no effect on that. And that's exactly the exact same. So why do we falsely attribute crime to certain groups? We sit here and push the same regurgitated rhetoric about how crime is increasing. Crime has been exactly the same since the 70s. The only thing that has changed are the acts that has been criminalized. I've been arrested several times. And majority of the times that I've been arrested were for nonviolent offenses. I've been arrested for nonviolent offenses, even in a state as New York, where there's bail reform that mother freaking minimizes, the incarceration of those who have not been involved in violent crimes, have not, accumulated a criminal record and all this jazz. I mean, it's crazy. But I just want to put it out there because this is intended to be vague, or not vague, but brief. And as brief as I could get it to be. Because I'm going to go and I'm going through it now, making my notes so I can compile how I'm going to organize, my little monologue. And I'm going to put this in a YouTube video and help people see that your perception on immigration and your ideas of how society functions is flawed. You don't know what's going on. You don't. And I don't blame you, because you don't know, like, what resources to take, right? Or what sources to utilize to gain some knowledge, right? Majority of the people out here, and I don't say it as like a jab, but majority of the people out here are uneducated. And when I say uneducated, it's not necessarily in the sense of like automatically just any college degree or any certification gains you, all the knowledge in the world. I do look at it as like assistance. It elevates you because you have a little bit more knowledge in your arsenal than you had when you graduated high school or when you got to GED. It's like when you read a book. This is why I encourage people, if you're not going to go to school, read. Pick up a book that's outside of your comfort so you can learn something new. Because little do you know, you might come across the information that I've come across. A lot of the stuff that I come across did not necessarily come out of my actual educational curriculum. It came out of me reading recreationally. Like the book that I have, Dying of Whiteness, and it's by, Dying of Whiteness is not by Patrick Phillips. I was about to butcher. But Dying of Whiteness by, I think it's Jonathan Metzl. But this book right here, people be looking at me and be acting like I'm lying. It's like, it's right in here, man. Dying of Whiteness. Let me show it to you. How the politics of racial resentment is killing America's heartland. And in this book, he talks about literally racial resentment killing folks. It's the same ordeal when it comes to immigration, is that you got people voting for politicians and policies that they perceive as harming the outside groups, the other people, and ultimately harm themselves, right? Because if I, which happened in this book, this dude interviewed several people and they was making decisions like this. However, if I was to vote for a politician and a policy that goes against, adequate and efficient and affordable health care under the guise that I don't want anyone else to have access to it, I ultimately end up hurting myself. And I end up restricting myself from gaining access to that efficient, affordable, that adequate motherfreaking health care. And this is what happened in the book. This man was hooked up to he was hooked up to oxygen tank and everything. This nigga was on his dying breath and then actually died. All the while justifying him voting for politicians and policies that did not provide the people health care, even though this nigga needed it. Why? Because he didn't want immigrants to get it. This nigga died to ensure someone else didn't get something that could have benefited him. If that's not selfish, baby, I don't know what it is. But this is society. Selfishly driven and don't give a damn about the people. You have people who use migration and immigration interchangeably as if they're the same thing. They're not. They're not. You ever heard of the Great Migration that took place in the South here amongst black people? My daddy is considered a migrant. My great uncle and my great aunts, they're considered migrants. Them jokers moved from down south up to New York in search of a better life. That's all they did. Immigrants are people who come from an outside country to a new country seeking the same thing. Migrants are people moving within a country to another location in that same country seeking the same thing. They do the same thing. The only difference is one is from an outside country, the other one is traveling within that country.
If you want people to think otherwise of you more positively, then give them more positive experiences.